Well, one of the most common issues which I get from consulting clients and also from my followers on Instagram is the question, just how do I buy components? How do I do it smartly? How do I do it without going insane? And in the following steps, I'm going to first show you my actual purchasing process using an example component. And after that, I'm also going to give you a bit of additional advice. Important. Before we get into the actual analysis process, let me reiterate that this process is solely for Western components. If you are dealing with semiconductors from the mainland, many of which are excellent, don't get me wrong, I love many of the mainland companies and they often have better products than their Western competitors, but in the case of mainland companies, this video will not help you. I will make a later video on mainland components at a future time. For now, please like and subscribe and go somewhere else. Once again, mainland components, wrong video. And just to set the stage, in the following steps, I am going to be looking for two things. The main focus will be on this little push button, which I mentioned on my Instagram and which people found very interesting. And for some thoughts, we will also be talking about these 3M Bumpon bumpers, which you see here at the bottom of the BobSync thinking ashtray, which incidentally is one of my engineering clients, and I really like this company a whole lot. So, first things first, just to make sure, this is the button that we are going to be looking for mainly. And the first step, of course, is we always want the manufacturer's part number. And then with this information, I usually always go to OEM Secrets first. Just put it in here and search. And of course, you need to make sure to select the correct currency, such as here, for example, euros. And the reason why I always use OEM Secrets in the first step is twofold. First of all, you can see where the parts are available. For example, now if I need 5 parts, I get the list of the distributors which have it. And secondarily, you also get a price break view. And this is very useful as it allows you to compare the different distributors and get a feeling of what the component will cost when you actually buy it. And yes, one thing is important, you should scroll down because sometimes they break up the same component into 2 registers. And here we have this SPEF guy here, and we see it's in stock with Mauser and with Verical. And we also see the minimum amounts we have to take. And if you are satisfied directly with your choice, you can just go and click here and go to buy now. So you see I've clicked buy now and now I'm here at the Mauser website and I can do my order. And yes, in the case of the bumper, of the Bumpon, you see here there are multiple versions offered. And in this case, usually I just try to take only the beginning, like so. And then I also scroll down a little bit. You see here, for example, that there are multiple different, slightly different SKUs, which are by and large for the same part. So this is also something which you should keep in mind. When it comes to actually selecting the distributor, you see here there are multiple criteriums to keep in mind. First of all, of course, the shipping fee. With most distributors, there is a point where shipping becomes free, and this is something you should keep in the eye. Secondarily, the minimum order quantity. Some distributors love to sell minimum quantities of 5 or 10 items. And this can be very annoying if you, for example, need only one light emitting diode of each. Then, of course, what is also important is the packaging, because you will be looking at the component packaging a lot, and if the labels are unclear and you are angry every time, it is not worth it. And then finally, geography and the customs policy are also very important. Geography is pretty simple. What is closer to you usually ships a bit faster. It's like one workday more or one workday less. And what's really important is customs clearance. Some distributors, such as Arrow, don't care for the customs clearance. And if you have to care for clearing the component packages yourself, this can be very intensive, because you never know what the customs dude will be thinking about. So customs is definitely something you should keep in mind. And you might have been missing before the mention of price. Price is not really a consideration at this stage of the process, at least for me, and I'm telling you why. These purchases from the distributors we are discussing here are usually in development quantities. Your manufacturer has his own connections and buys his own stuff for the line runs, usually. So the price difference, even if it's 25 or 30%, usually it's just not worth to have a distributor which gets on your nerves and ships unreliably. Because trust me, when you are waiting for parts and you can't finish a prototype and you've saved $5, it's a complete non-issue. So here you have the important criteriums for selecting a distributor. And then as the cookie crumbles, usually the cookie crumbles like so, that you end up with two distribution roles, the large house and the quick house. The large house is the house where you usually order your components and where you usually meet the minimum order quantity to get free shipping. In my case, this is Mauser. And with them, what's important? You need a problem-free and reliable distributor. Mauser really made me happy. There once was a shipping mishap to my Slovak office, and they tore down FedEx so hard that still 5 years later, the FedEx management remembered my name. So Mauser here is excellent. What you also want here is a wide selection of products and a very strong stock on site so that they can ship reliably. And then the second thing you need is the quick house. The quick house should be a distributor which is local to you and where the shipping should be very cheap. In my case, this is TME, because even if I order just €1 worth of merchandise, they ship it for like €5 to my office. And this distributor, of course, his role is when this guy doesn't have a component or when you forgot to order something, you don't want to pay for shipping for a small order, so this guy gets the second job. And here I also see people miss something, namely a discussion of perks. And the reason why I am not mentioning this is because the perks from distributors, especially if you bring less than 10,000 euros of revenue a year, are basically non-existent. And even then, they don't become much. I know of a British distributor where the perk is like a bottle of Grey Goose every year. And what should I say? That's 30 euros worth of stuff. And if it's not so reliable or not so local, but you get a bottle of booze for free, it's a sucker's game. So from my point of view, the perks are something which you don't really should take into consideration too much. And now to look at a special case, or rather two special cases. Special case number one is wireless modules in general. Here I'm showing you a Quectel, but from my experience it also applies to almost all other wireless modules. These wireless modules, if you buy them from a normal distributor, they are always expensive. The strategy here is to take contact to the manufacturer and then to either buy directly from the manufacturer or alternatively from one of their specialized distributors. The savings you can make here are insane. You see here we've got a $29 special price for the PG96, and I know that one of my clients is buying them for less than half this price in very, very small quantities. And the second special case is Würth. Würth basically has excellent distributor availability, but you must trust me that if you use Würth components in any meaningful way, like 3 or 4 paid purchases a year is already enough, you definitely need to try and find a local Würth sales clerk. The Würth sales clerk's prices usually beat any distributor by a wide margin, and in addition to that you also get a lot of swag from the sales clerk. For example, I often get samples for clients to evaluate things. And so this is the second special case. If you have or if you use a lot of Würth electronic components and there is a sales clerk near you, not recruiting the sales clerk would be absolute madness. And with that, I've told you a lot of what I know. I hope that this is helpful. Thank you for being here. As always, like and subscribe, and see you next time.